it is health, and it's time for health, and we're going to be talking about something very important that affects, okay, I don't know how many people it affects, but a whole lot of people I know have been affected by this condition. And I'm not even sure if it's a disease or it's a condition, or I don't know exactly what it is, but male baldness. Male baldness is a big deal. And when it starts to happen to you, you begin to wonder what in the world you did wrong. But okay, Dr. Kelvin Owusu has joined us, and we're going to have a fun conversation this morning. Dr. Kelvin.
Yeah, David.
You are not yet suffering from this problem, so you don't know what it feels like.
Well, I'm not likely to suffer from this problem.
Okay,
actually.
how come?
Well, because it's not common in my line, my family.
Okay. So
that's the first.
Starting
point.
Starting from there, we can then say that. Can we then say that it tends to be genetic?
Yes, it tends to be genetic.
Okay.
But let's backtrack
up a bit. Okay.
So you see, when it comes to hair loss, everybody, if almost 100% of people, human beings, will lose hair as they age. So it's sort of age related. As you grow older, and you see it all around you. I mean, your grandparents, when you see their young day pictures,
they had a lot more hair.
A lot more hair. Then as you grow older, the hair begins to thin. It thins in terms of like the volume, and also thins in terms of, even when you look at the hair itself, you can see that this is not even as thick as it used to be.
Okay.
So it's a normal aging process for you to lose hair as you grow older. When you look at yourself, you probably it was easy for you to grow an afro when you were probably in your teens.
Listen, Dr. Kevin, I have to give you my confession. So I always had an afro all the way till I was 20.
You see?
I had an afro.
You see? Now, have you tried to grow an afro in recent times?
Listen, look. I'm in pains. Okay, it's not working.
It's true.
So for some reason, I fell in love with a certain kind of look, when I was 20, and I decided I was going to get rid of the whole afro, right? So I got rid of it. And then for maybe 20 years, I just kept my hair down. Now I'm decided, okay, I'm going to grow out my hair. Okay, now Godfrey Akotobuafu is going to laugh at me for this, because I told him, I said, listen, I'm going to grow my hair. I'm going to watch me grow my hair. And he looks at me and he says, it's not going to work. I'm like, how dare you? I used to have an afro. I'll grow my hair. Look, Dr. Kelvin, it's not working.
It's not you alone. I mean, I also had an afro. I mean, I actually have braided my hair before. Don't tell my children.
Oh, wow. Do you have pictures?
It's highly classified. This was pre-internet, so
I see.
But now you try to grow your hair and it's not working. You see, it's part of the aging process. But then when we talk about male pattern baldness, so about 60% of men will have some degree of baldness by the time they are 50 years.
Okay.
And interestingly, 50% of women will also suffer similar.
Hey. I didn't know this.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why the term is male pattern baldness. So it's not just male bald. Because when you say male baldness, then it's like it only happens in males. It doesn't only happen in males. It also happens in some females as well.
I see.
And like I said, it happens with age. So as you're growing older, you notice yourself, your hair is thinning out. But when we say male pattern baldness, there are usually two classical symptoms. Either your hairline is receding.
Okay.
Or the crown, you are losing hair from the crown. Or both. So that is what we mean by male pattern baldness. Okay. So hairline receding, or loss of hair from the crown, or both. So any other form of baldness that you're experiencing could be something else.
Yeah.
You see, and so when we talk about the male pattern baldness, it could be genetic. In fact, that's the most common cause. Common cause. So if your father is bald, you are likely to be bald.
You will be bald.
And also, depending on the age when your father started balding, you could experience similar. I mean, I have a friend who actually was balding when we were in secondary school.
Oh, wow.
As in, by the time we got to first year secondary school, he had already started balding.
Wow.
Yes, and now he doesn't have any hair at all.
No, but that's kind of scary, though. I mean, I'm saying it's scary because in an environment where you don't see something like that happen, and then you alone, your hair is going. How do people deal with those kinds of things?
I mean, it's quite difficult to deal with for a lot of people, especially if even though it's genetic, sometimes it may skip some generations, you know. And so let's say it has been in your family, but then it probably skipped your grandfather and it skipped your father, and then you now get it. So generally, you haven't even seen it in your family, and then suddenly you are losing your hair. It can be very, very frustrating psychologically, physically, emotionally, you know. And that's why people try to find all sorts of ways and means to sort of deal with it, reverse it.
We'll get to that one.
Medically, most of them don't actually give you the desired results. I mean, I know I'm jumping, but there is some treatment, there are some drugs you can actually take, but the thing is, whilst you're on the drug, it's going to help you to sort of maintain the hair that you have and even encourage some new growth. But the moment you stop it, the pattern returns.
I see.
You see, so then it becomes more of a
dependency thing.
Exactly. So now you ask yourself, is it worth it? You know, so you realize that most of the people who have actually accepted it, they sort of tend to deal with it better. Because the thing is, you really can't do much about it. You know, short of going to do a hair transplant, which is very expensive, and the success rate is also not too not too significant. I mean, the range, imagine the range of success is between 10% and 80%. So that's a very, very wide range, and you're going to spend a lot of money. I'm talking about $20,000 and upwards. You know, so do you want to invest that much money to hair transplant hair onto your scalp? I mean, if you can't afford it, it works. I mean, what famous stars have done it. Rooney did it, you know, and he got some good results, you know. But I mean, I don't know how the rest of us can afford to do to get it done, you know. So it begins with the hair itself, the texture of the hair. You can actually begin to see the thinning of the hair as you are seeing over there, and as it progresses, there you now start seeing the scalp itself, and then, you know, as they say, God becomes your barber, and you're happy. You're happy with the outcome. I mean, that's a very nice head, isn't it?
Exactly.
You know, but it's very frustrating, and if it's this frustrating for a man, imagine if it happens in a female. Now that can be very, very. I can imagine. I don't even know the words to describe it. You know, and traumatizing. Yes, and I have seen a couple of women with this problem, and it's really not easy at all. You know?
But okay, so I think let me start from what are the medical solutions?
Well, there's actually a pill called minoxidil, which is it's usually available over the counter. But I mean, if you don't know how to use it, it's best you go to the hospital and get the prescription to get it done. But that's what I was describing. That so long as you are on it, your hair will be maintained, and you might even get new hair growing. But once you stop it, then the baldness continues. And so, really, medically, I mean, the advice would be to accept it. You know, because once you begin to accept, and if you've seen it in your parents, your father, your grandfather, it helps you sort of accept it earlier, because it's like from day one you were born, the guy had no hair. You know, so you know that it doesn't matter how much hair you have, you're going to lose it at some point. You know, but sometimes there's a bit of denial. You know, I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get it. Then you start getting it, and especially if you find yourself in a group of friends who are very how do I mean? You know, because if
they start to tease you,
sometimes the teasing can really overwhelm. You know, but there are other non-medical ways of dealing with these things, like wearing a wig. You know, and some men actually have I mean, there are male wigs you can actually wear to cover the balding spots.
I saw something just 2 days ago. In fact, it's interesting because I didn't know we were going to have this conversation, and I saw some photos where what I think they do is that you're bald. There's nothing on your hair, right? And they put some kind of, I'm not sure whether it's a glue or some kind of adhesive on your hair. Then they'll line up the hair nicely on your hair. When they finish, then they will now do the crop. So by the time they are done cropping, you look like you have hair. You know, and it looks perfect.
If you actually find the right, find the right, I don't know if they call them hairdressers or hair technician. I don't know. If you actually find the right person to do it for you, it's actually going to fit quite well. But then the problem is, you see, you may not have lost all your hair. So now when the hair, the places that have hair begin to grow, then it's going to upset the
arrangement that you have done,
and the adhesiveness of the glue, and it's going to cause problems. You know, and so you sort of, and so that's why I mean the cheapest way of dealing with this thing is the acceptance. You know, so the earlier you accept it, the better. But so we mentioned that the genetic aspect that it runs in family. So if your father had it, most likely you have it. And the more people in your family who are bald, the more likely you are to experience it. Because then it means that the expression of that gene is very strong in your line. And you see, if you're a father and you are bald, the earlier you begin to tell, like, I don't know how to put it, indoctrinate or to tell to create the awareness in your son, the better for them to accept it. Because my guy, like this, I was saying, this is secondary school SS1, and he came to SS1, he was balding.
Already balding. Wow.
And so, imagine SS1. I mean, imagine what the seniors are going to do to him. Everybody is going to slap your head. They are going to make you feel very.
I mean, I have a nickname in this company. Certain people call me some names in this company. I'm not going to encourage them to continue, so I won't mention it. Okay, but they call me names.
You haven't accepted it, so you see yourself.
Okay, so they call me granddad. I've accepted it. You can't tell me that I haven't accepted it. Okay, so they call me granddad. I refuse to accept it, but whatever. Today on this show,
you've accepted
health segments with Dr. Kelvin. I've accepted it.
Okay, granddad. Another cause of balding is it's also hormonal. So and even maybe the women may notice this more when you go through various times of your cycle, or even during pregnancy. You notice that it also affects the texture of your hair. So at some point your hair is very it's shiny, it's full. Then at some other points you realize that it's not so full. So hormones also play a key role. When it comes to men, the androgenic hormones, the hormones that sort of make you a man, can also affect your hair, and that's why there's this, I wouldn't say misconception, those who believe it, that men who are bald are more potent.
Oh, I see.
It could be something that helps them to sort of,
How does that logic work, though?
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're losing your hair, so you must find something to sort of make you still feel good. So maybe it's a psychological ego booster. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done any research there, so I mean, I can find out later. But related to this, men who use steroids for whatever purpose, maybe if they to bodybuild or whatever, maybe bleach, they also get they also get bald. So balding can be a sign of steroid abuse. And so if you begin to bald and you are involved, you are using any of these things for any of these purposes, check it, because once you start balding, it could mean that you are even having further damage to other organs in your body. So very important. Other causes of balding could be some medication. So I'm not going to mention specific medication because I don't want people to start to not take their medication because we are not in good times and all that. But some BP medications can cause balding. Cancer medication can. So the cancer itself can cause balding, and the treatment of the cancer can also cause balding. I mean, it's typical that when people are on chemotherapy, we see them on social media and they have no hair. This is because the cancer drugs attack any fast dividing cell. And hair cells are very fast dividing. That's why you don't even notice when you are losing the hair, because by the time one hair falls, another hair is already there replacing it. So you don't notice until the replacement process is affected. So once you're on cancer treatment and the cells are not able to divide as they used to because of the treatment, then you start seeing that your hair is falling out. So cancer treatment will result in hair loss as well.
So I have this situation where when I think I was 16 or so, I had an accident. Now, the accident was friends of mine were jumping on a trampoline, right?
At 16?
At 16.
You were at that for long?
For a while, So, this guy has gone up in the air and is on his way down. I was on my way up, Now, I did not know he could see me, I couldn't see him because he was behind me. Well, maybe he wasn't looking, but he basically drove his front teeth into my head. The clash. So I have a scar, right? Now, will the existence of that scar speed up the balding process?
No,
it wouldn't.
It wouldn't speed up the balding process.
But the hair won't grow.
But the hair cannot grow because now the injury and the healing process will sort of disrupt the architecture. Because if you look closely at the hair, at your scalp, or if anywhere there's hair, you notice that the hair comes out of holes. Which is the hair pore. So once that hair pore is sort of disrupted, you're not going to have hair growing over there. And so wherever on your body that there's a scar, there's no hair on that scar. And in fact, this is one of the if you have scars on your scalp, even if you did a hair transplant, it will not work.
Okay.
Because the scar has disrupted the architecture, so the hair cannot grow.
Okay. So that's really what it is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But it doesn't impact on.
It doesn't have any impact on the rest of the. It's only that portion where the scar is.
Okay.
Unless you have a situation where you know that you know about keloids. A keloid is a scarred tissue that sort of grows beyond its boundary.
Yeah.
And so if you are prone to having keloids, and if you are black, most of us are prone to having keloids. So then if the scar tissue begins
Thankfully,
to.
I'm not.
Well, thank me, I am not as well. But interestingly, even if you are not, you still have some. So you realize that there are some scars that still grow a bit above. It's a problem of the black skin.
Okay.
Because due to some biochemical issues. And so if the keloid is expanding, then obviously the hair cannot grow where the keloid is expanding to. And so if it means that much to you, then you have to deal with the keloid, and there are ways of dealing with keloids. Maybe some other time we can discuss that as well.
Fantastic. Okay, so let's bring this home. How do we deal, generally speaking, with balding, psychology of it, accepting it ourselves, getting their family members to accept it, and all of that? Because I know some people, some ladies will say, look, I have a problem with the fact that you're getting bald, so.
I think first of all, you have to understand that I already gave the statistics. About 60% of men will have some degree of balding by the time they are 60. Now, let me use myself. I told you that I'm not likely to have it because it's not common in my family. However, personally, I've noticed a recession of my hairline. This might be self-induced, and it's common among, again, Africans, because whenever we go to the barber, we line our hair, and they keep pushing it back. And if you keep traumatizing that area often enough, the hair over there will not grow. So I've actually taken the personal decision that every so often I'll actually leave my hair to grow to its full extent before I do whatever I need to do. And so it's the same with women as well. There are hairstyles or hairstylists who are not gentle with hair, and so if you keep patronizing their services, or you keep doing certain hairstyles, you lose more hair faster. And so with a gentleman too, there are some chemicals that if you put in your hair, you might end up losing your hair faster. So first of all, avoid those things. If you are prone to balding, avoid those things. Make sure that you take your hair to the right person. You use the right what's it called? If you're going to put chemicals or anything in the hair, use the appropriate chemicals so that you don't speed up the process. But once it is in your family, you know that there's a high probability that you are going to get it, and so you need to begin dealing with it even before it starts happening. So accept it early, because a lot of men are going to have it anyway. And when it does start happening, you can find other ways. Maybe wear a hat. And now we are in social media age. You can just find a top hat and become a hat celebrity. You just converted your disability into something else. And you can also, if it's that debilitating, there are support groups. Again, we're on social media. You can just go on Facebook or Instagram and find the Bald Men Association. I can bet you find something there, and each of them can share an experience that might help you deal with your situation. But the ultimate thing is that almost every man will experience some degree of hair loss by the age of 50. So it's very, very prevalent.
Wow. Okay. So
you are not alone. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm not alone. Thank you very much. Let's just quickly talk about I know you mentioned there's a tablet, a pill that you can take, and then of course there's the cosmetic one where people can do like wigs and glue hair to your head and all of that. But it also has its own challenges. Are there creams and oils that will help? That you are aware of?
So there are creams and oils that would help, but they are not as effective. Some of them may give you some degree of effects, but it's not, should I say, sustainable. Okay. So again, most of the time, because the genetic process that's ongoing in the background, once you stop using whatever you're using, it's going to happen. Right. So you cannot. It's not curable. That's the word I'm looking for. You cannot cure baldness. Okay. You can manage it. You can delay it. You can slow it down. But ultimately, it will happen.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Calvin. So how can people reach you quickly?
I'm active on social media at Kelvin Owusu MD on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
All right. Fantastic. We'll be